Commander Marcus Rivera had faced down warships, negotiated with hostile species, and survived 3 separate assassination attempts during his tenure as Earth's chief diplomatic envoy to the Galactic Council. But nothing had prepared him for the mystery of Queen Zathara. The Catherian ruler was an enigma wrapped in scales and starlight. Her people were among the most advanced in the galaxy, their technology centuries ahead of humanity's best efforts. Yet every time Marcus entered a room, she would find an excuse to leave. Every diplomatic function became an elaborate dance of avoidance, with the Queen positioning herself at the opposite end of massive halls or suddenly remembering urgent matters that required her immediate attention. It had been 3 months since humanity's formal introduction to galactic society, and Marcus still hadn't managed a proper conversation with the most powerful leader in their sector. The other species representatives had begun to whisper. The Valdorian ambassador had even suggested that perhaps humans weren't as diplomatically gifted as initially believed. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station, watching the Catherian royal vessel through the reinforced transperistyle. The ship was a work of art, organic curves that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent life, more grown than built. He'd requested another meeting, and once again, Queen Zathara had declined through intermediaries. Still brooding over our elusive queen, Marcus turned to find Dr. Sarah Chen, humanities xenobiologist, approaching with 2 cups of synthetic coffee. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her expression carried the same frustration he felt. I don't understand it, Sarah. Every other leader has been at least cordial. Some have been downright friendly. But Zathara acts like I'm carrying a plague. Sarah handed him a cup and leaned against the deck railing. Maybe you are, from her perspective. Different species, different biology. Could be something as simple as pheromones. The medical scans cleared all the human delegates for biochemical compatibility. Besides, she doesn't avoid the others like this. Just me. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the alien vessel drift past distant stars. Marcus had read everything available about Catherian culture, studied their history, learned fragments of their language. The Catherians were an ancient race, their civilization spanning millennia. They valued strength, wisdom, and something their texts called harmony of purpose. Queen Zathara herself was described as both beautiful and formidable, a ruler who had unified her people through both diplomacy and, when necessary, decisive action. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Marcus activated his communicator, expecting another polite deflection. Instead, he found himself face to face with the Queen herself. Zathara's appearance never failed to strike him speechless. Her skin held the iridescent quality of deep ocean water, shifting between blue and green depending on the light. Elegant ridges framed her face, and her eyes were the color of nebulae. Deep purple shot through with silver. When she spoke, her voice carried musical undertones that seemed to resonate in his chest. Commander Rivera, she said, her English accented but precise. I believe it is time we spoke privately. Will you come aboard my vessel? Alone. Marcus exchanged a glance with Sarah, who looked as surprised as he felt. Of course, Your Majesty, I'd be honored. Good. I will send coordinates. And Commander? She paused, her expression unreadable. What I have to tell you, it concerns the future of both our peoples. The connection terminated, leaving Marcus staring at the blank screen. An hour later, he found himself in what could only be described as a living room aboard the Catherian ship. The walls pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns, and the air carried the scent of something like jasmine mixed with ozone. Queen Zathara sat across from him, her posture rigid with obvious tension. You must think me quite rude, she began without preamble. I think you're cautious. Given your position, that's understandable. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Cautious? Yes, that is one way to describe it. She rose and moved to what appeared to be a living window, its surface showing the stars beyond. Do you know why I have avoided you, Marcus Rivera? The use of his first name sent an unexpected warmth through his chest. I've wondered about that quite a lot, actually. It is because of what I see when I look at you. She turned back to face him, and he was startled to see something like fear in her expression. My people possess what you might call precognitive abilities, not prophecy, nothing so dramatic. But we can sometimes glimpse the threads of probability, see the paths that choices might create. Marcus leaned forward. And what do you see when you look at me? Zethara was quiet for a long moment, her hands clasped tightly before her. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I see a future where our species are bound together in ways that will shake the foundation of galactic civilization. I see partnership that transcends politics and becomes something deeper. I see myself. She stopped, taking a shuddering breath. I see myself falling in love with you, Marcus Rivera, and I see what that love will cost us both. The words hit him like a physical blow. Marcus felt his world tilt, everything he thought he understood about their situation suddenly reframing itself. Zethara, you do not understand. Her voice grew stronger, more desperate. In Catherian culture, our leaders cannot simply choose personal happiness. Every bond we form becomes political, becomes analyzed and weaponized by our enemies. If I allow myself to feel what I see coming, it will be used against both our peoples. There are factions who would see any human Catherian alliance as weakness, who would move against us both. Marcus stood slowly, his mind racing. So you've been avoiding me to prevent a future you're not even sure will happen? To prevent a future I am absolutely certain will happen if I allow it. She met his eyes, and he saw the loneliness there, the weight of royal duty. I have spent 3 months trying to change the path I see, but every simulation, every probability matrix my people run, they all lead to the same conclusion. You and I will care for each other in ways that transcend species, politics, everything that should matter to rulers like us. And you see this as a problem? I see this as inevitable destruction. My advisors already whisper that I am too focused on humanity. The consortium grows suspicious of Earth's rapid integration. If they believe I am compromised, they will move against your people before you are strong enough to defend yourselves. Marcus stepped closer and he saw her actually flinch, not from fear of him but from fear of herself. Zethara, what if the future you're seeing isn't a disaster? What if it's exactly what both our species need? You cannot know. No, I can't. But I know what I feel when I look at you, and it has nothing to do with politics or strategy. He stopped just out of arm's reach. You've been carrying this burden alone for months. Let me help carry it. For a moment, her composure cracked. He saw the queen fall away, leaving only a being who had been fighting her own heart for longer than he could imagine. I am so tired of being afraid, she whispered. Then stop, Marcus said simply. Stop being afraid. Stop hiding. Stop assuming the worst possible outcome is the only one that matters. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and for the first time since they'd met, she didn't turn away. The path forward will not be easy. The best paths never are. Zethara nodded slowly, something like hope beginning to kindle in her expression. Then perhaps it is time we walked it together, Marcus Rivera of Earth. And perhaps the future my people fear is exactly the future the galaxy needs. Outside the living window, the stars seemed to burn a little brighter, as if the universe itself approved of their choice to embrace the unknown together.